My husband.
We're live. I wish I was recording this before. We've been having some great talking. That's why we're a little late. Great conversation. I'm with May, and May is just my beautiful guest that I have on today. And I've had her in the past. She went ahead and was sharing briefly about why she's here. And many women throughout the world have gone through this, and it is painful. I myself have gone through this, and I get goosebumps now. But I'm going to let you take it away, May. She's also going to mention a bill, which I'm going to put in the comments. So if anybody's interested in that. And also, she is an author. She's been a guest here before talking about sexual assault, but this is totally unrelated to that. So, but I'll have the link for her book also in the comments. May, go ahead, darling. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Melinda. I'm so happy to be here again and a part of your show. You're such a wonderful host. I love being at
Thank
your
you.
show. You're a sweetie. Yeah, I reached out to you a few weeks ago because I just really felt like an injustice was done to me. It was unjust, it was inhumane, and it just wasn't right. And so, what happened was in January, just this a couple months ago, we found out that we were pregnant and we were just so happy. We were just like over the moon. This would be our second child. And we had been trying. She's going to be 3 next month. So we had been trying to, have her little brother, her little sister. And so on January 24th, when I took the pregnancy test, I just started laughing like, oh my gosh, of joy. I was just so happy and excited. And I shared with my husband, and he was so happy. And then so on February 11th, we went in for our 8 weeks. So usually at 8 weeks, that's when you have your first checkup, prenatal checkup. We went in and we were so excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to get my sonogram and I'm going to hear the baby's heartbeat. And I was just so, you know, thrilled. And we went in and we did the ultrasound. And the ultrasound tech asked me, when was the last day of your first, when was the first day of your last period? And I said, December 17th. And I for sure was like, I really think that was the date. I was like, December 17th. She's like, oh, okay. And then she's like doing her thing. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. She's like, oh, okay. And I was like, why? Is the baby measuring too big? And I'm thinking maybe I'm older. Maybe the baby's, maybe it wasn't December 17th. Maybe it was a few weeks before. I don't know. So she's like, no, the baby's actually measuring smaller, like 6 weeks and 4 days. And I I just like was speechless. Like I couldn't even you wouldn't even come out. Like I was just had no words. And then she's like, and she didn't want to say too much. I could tell, she was kind of uncomfortable too. Like she didn't want to be the one to tell me the news. So
Right.
then I went and she's like, okay, your doctor will talk to you, you'll wait in the room. And so just in the room, it was just like silent in there. So my husband was with me, my baby Eden was with me. She took Elsa,
Oh. Oh.
she brought Elsa with her. And
Oh.
so it was just the room was just silent, and she was just watching her little show. And then finally, the doctor came in. It was actually the midwife. She came in and she's like, um, it's the baby doesn't have a heartbeat, and the baby's measuring smaller than she should be, so I'm gonna ask you to get some blood drawn today, and then come back on Monday and get some more blood drawn. So I'm like, okay. And then, Melinda, I just ran to the bathroom. I was like, okay, it was over. Our appointment was over. And I just ran to the bathroom and tears just came down my face. And I like grabbed my stomach and I was like just speaking life, like, no, like you will live and not die. Tears is just like coming down, like, no, no, no. I was just like, no, like I like was just like, no, I'm gonna speak it by faith, no, I'm gonna like, I'm not accepting it. Then I went in. then I drew my blood on Friday. Then I came back on Monday, drew my blood. Then I had my second appointment with her on the 15th of February, which was my mom's birthday. So, so I went in and she's like, May, um, your number on Friday was 32,000 HCG. And she's like, and by Monday, your number went down 5,000.
Oh,
So, and I know right
I'm
then,
sorry. I'm ugly crying already.
no, 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 please. I know, I'm just like telling you the story. It's like not giving me a
I
time
know.
to be emotional. I just want to tell you the story. Like, and then, so then I still like wouldn't believe it. I still wouldn't accept it. I was like, no. I'm like, and we called, like, we told our pastors, our close family members and friends, and everybody's praying, like, Jesus wrote, like, prayed, Jesus had risen Lazarus from the dead, like, he can, and we're still just praying, believing by faith. Like, I still at this point had not accepted. I was like, no, I'm not going to accept this. So then on the third appointment, on February 22nd, because I had to keep getting my blood drawn so they can see my numbers.
Right.
And on the 22nd, I went in February, and she said that now from, 32,000 minus 5, then it was 9,000 less.
Oh,
So now,
wow.
like, and then at that time, on February 22nd, I just accepted it. I just was like, my baby is gone. And so we were just asking, like, what are our options now? At the second appointment, we were like, okay, what are our options? They're like, okay, she was very nice. She's a very nice lady. And she actually had suffered several losses herself, you know. And so she was very nice. She was very compassionate. Like, she gave me hugs, and we just
Oh,
were hugging it out in the office and everything. I'm crying.
oh,
She's just like hugging it out with me. And she's like, well, you can wait naturally for the baby to come out, naturally. We can give you a pill that you would, put up there and then would speed up the process. Or they would go in there and kind of, you know, take the baby out.
Dancy. Yeah.
Right, the DNC. And, we thought about it. I was like, you know what? We're just gonna wait naturally. And whatever anyone's choice is, it's definitely like, up to you. Like whatever you choose, like that is up to you. But for us, I I was like, I just want it to be natural, whatever is gonna happen. So this was on the 22nd. And then that weekend, the 26th and 27th, it was Saturday and Sunday. On Friday night, I started having cramps, like contraction like cramps. And I was like, in my mind, it didn't click like what was really happening. And then on Saturday, and then we went to a marriage conference on Saturday. So towards the end, it was like at 1:30, my water broke
Wow.
in the middle of the conference. And so my water had broke, and I went into the bathroom, and a huge chunk of placenta fell out of me in the bathroom at church.
Wow.
And, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know my water was going to break. She did not tell me that was going to happen. So then I just reached my hand inside the toilet and like pulled out this, it was like liver, like the context was like liver, and I just held it in my hand, and like I was just like crying. And then I was thinking, like, what should I do? Should I save? you know I thought this was the baby. I was like, okay, this must be the baby. And I was like, should I say? I was like, well, we are at church. So I decided, like, you know what, like many of us, have done. And I felt, terrible about it. I was like, okay, well, we're at church. Let this be like the baby's final resting place kind of thing. And then so I flushed the placenta down the toilet, I think. And then so then I'm still having cramps. I'm still bleeding. I bled through my underwear, my pants, my friend's house, and she
Mm.
gave me some. She had just had a baby, so she had given me um, her afterbirth stuff. The big pads and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
She was so sweet. She gave me her strong ibuprofen 800.
Oh, God
She,
bless her.
she gave me her pants and everything. It's like I just bled through all my clothes.
Oh.
And then my mom was like, you should rest. You should rest. I was like, no, I'm going to go to church. And I had to teach. I'm a Sunday school teacher. So I was like, no, I'm not going to let the devil keep me from teaching my
Good
kids.
for you.
So then I went to church. Melinda, I bled. So I mean, like, I literally was like, "Oh my God, I'm bleeding through I bled through my the pad, my underwear."
Wow.
I had to run to the store. Oops, excuse me, cappuccino. I had to run through the store next to the church to go buy pads, underwear, pants, so I could come back. And I was telling, my lead, I was telling her what was happening. She's like, okay, don't worry about it. We'll have someone cover it. And then I ate a sandwich, took the ibuprofen 800, and I went to church. Oh, yeah, I had baby wipe too. I wiped like as much as I can. It like dripped all down my leg and everything.
Wow.
I wiped it and I went to church. And I sat there in church and I was like, wow, okay. And I'm thinking, this is the end of it. Excuse me. It feels dry. Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine.
And I'm thinking, like, okay, this is the worst of it, like, okay. And then later on that night, I'm using the bathroom. And then all of a sudden, my baby's egg sac falls out of me.
Mm.
And I didn't even know, like, Melinda, I don't even know. I didn't even know what was going on or what was happening. And it was like, and if truth be told, it frightened me. Like,
Sure.
I was frightened, like, I was scared, like, I had no idea, like, this was happening, what to expect or anything, and the only thing I could think of was to flush the toilet,
Yeah.
and I feel like I keep replaying that moment over and over, like, "Why did I do that? Why did I just flush the toilet? Like, why did I do that?" And I'm like, I think now I'm at a place of peace about it, but for weeks it was just tormenting to me. Like, oh my God, I flushed my baby down the toilet. Like, that was like literally my baby. But when I was in the moment, when I was there, like, I wasn't thinking that. So this is Sunday night about 7:30. And Monday morning, I went to work. I put I made sure I wore the extra thick pads just in case, because I'm still bleeding. Um, and I go to work. We have a lot of meetings. And then I even go to work on Tuesday. And then I'm like, I can't. And then on Tuesday, I realized, like, I can't do this. Like, I cannot, like, my job is to help people, is to pour into people's lives as a social worker. And I'm like, I just can't do this. So then I emailed my manager and I was like, I need to take some time off. So the policy that they have at my employer's office is that if you suffer the death of a child, you can get 10 days off. 5 days paid bereavement, like the company would pay 5 days. And then the other 5 days, you would have to use your sick days. So then when I told my manager, I even sent her the email of the letter stating that I did suffer a pregnancy loss, all of that. And she was like, well, I don't know if we can give you the days due to our policies, but I'll let you know. So then I took Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off the rest of the week. Then on Monday, I get an email from her saying, I hope you're feeling better. And I'm sorry, but we're not going to be able to give you your bereavement days.
Mm.
And I feel like it just crushed me. When I read that email, it crushed me in so many ways. That, first of all, this was the worst pain that I've ever felt, like emotionally, mentally, in my life, losing my child.
Right.
And for it to be invalidated, like, no, your loss doesn't count. Like, I was like, this is not right. And something just like rose up inside me, like, this is not right. Like, there is nothing right about this. And so, literally, from like February 11th and the next month, I cried every day. I cried on my way to work. Sometimes I would cry at work. Then I would cry when I get home. Like, it was just so exhausting. I was just crying all the time.
Right.
And they told me that they couldn't give me the time. And I told them, well, I'll see you next school year. I was so mad.
I can't blame you.
I was like, you know what? If you're not going to give me the time, I'm asking for just 5 days. If you're
Right.
not going to give me time, I'm taking the next 4 months off. I was done. I was done in my mind. I was like, I don't care. You can fire me. I don't care. I was so angry. And so I was like, well, that's your decision. So now I'm going to make a decision. I'm gone for the rest of the school year. Yeah, I did. I wrote that. And then so in my mind I was like, okay, I'm gone. They told me that I had some time left for short-term disability. Yeah, you have 3 months. I was like, okay, cool. I have 3 months. I'm good. And then on Monday, just a few days ago, I called the leave office and they told me, oh, um, you actually don't have 3 months. You only have 7 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they told me I only had 7 days, 7 days of leave. So I went back on Tuesday. Well, before we get into that, I wanted to talk about like really the 3 weeks that I had taken off. And honestly, Melinda, I think that was the best decision that I could have made. I mean, people like my family members and friends, like everyone was really pushing me to go back to work. Like, because they're like, you have a good job, you have benefits, you don't want to lose your job. And I was like, no, I cannot possibly go back to work. I'm crying every day.
Right.
I'm crying to you. I'm crying with you. I'm like, I cannot go back to work. And so I think taking the 3 weeks off was the best decision that I made for me to be able to really process and really start my journey of healing and really just being back to like okay, as in like I'm not crying every day. And that was one of the deciding factors of me going back on Tuesday when I realized I was like, for the past like week or so, I haven't been crying every day. You know,
Right.
I feel like I'm okay
Right.
because I haven't been crying every day. So during the 3 weeks, because of what had happened to me when I tried to ask for time off, I wanted to start a petition on change.org. So that's when, on that Wednesday, I started a petition on change.org called Bereavement Time Due to Pregnancy Loss. And I shared with my story about how my employer wouldn't give me time off because they didn't consider my loss the loss of a child.
Mm.
And so what I was asking was for supporters to believe that, people should get time off. So
Right.
on Wednesday, I was like, okay, you guys. And I literally, in 5 days, I think I messaged like over 1,000 people. Easily. Like, I text everybody, like, I have like some odd, like, I think 2,000 contacts on my phone. I easily text like six or
Dang.
Yeah, 6 or 7, like, 100 people from there, literally. And then I mean, I message hundreds of people on Facebook, and then I joined about 20 or 30 pregnancy, miscarriage, loss groups, and I posted it on there for them to support. I messaged, like, the group leads, the moderators, to ask if it was okay. They're like, yeah, yeah, it's good. So then, I just like blasted out. And the first day I was like, if we get 100, that's good. I'm like, I don't even know, like, really 100 people that's close to me. So by the end of the night, like, I started the petition. I think it was like at 6:30. By I think within the next few hours, like within 4 or 5 hours, we had 100 people.
Awesome.
And then it just kept growing and growing from there, and I was, like, messaging everybody every day, like, "Okay, please share with." I was very ambitious. I was like, "We can get 1,000." I was like, "Share with just 10 people." I shared with 1,000 people, but I just want you to share with 10 people. And I was like, "You know what? Maybe that's too ambitious." So then the next day, I was like, "Just share with 5 people." I was like, "You know what? Maybe that's still too ambitious. Just share with one other person." I was like, you know what? Every day I messaged them and I was like, please just share with one other person. And if people like wrote me back, messaged me back, I was like, oh, will you please post it on your page, or will you share it with just one other person? And honestly, Melinda, like, on Sunday night, like that, on Friday, I was stuck at 300. Like, I was like, I don't know any more people. You know what? I had given up on Friday. Yeah, 2 days. On Friday night, I had given up. I was like, I don't know any more people. And one of my friends, he was like, well, the May that I know will get that 1,000. I'm like, no, he's challenging me. Challenge accepted. Yeah, he challenged me. So I was like, you know what? Challenge accepted. So then that's when, like, I felt led to join the miscarriage groups, like pregnancy loss groups. Then I like message people from my phone. Some people I haven't spoken to in probably like 10, 15 years. I'm like, I don't care. Ex-boyfriends and everything. Melinda, I'm serious. Ex-boyfriends and everything. They're like, whoa, okay, she got married and had a kid. Then I lost the I didn't care. I was on a mission. And so stuck at 300 on Friday. And then Monday morning, okay, so Friday, stuck at 300. Monday morning, we were at 1,000 supporters.
Oh, that's awesome. That is
I was
awesome.
like, what? I was thinking, okay, we got 1,000 by the end of March. We'll be doing good. Like, we got 1,000 people in 5 days. And I'm
That's
just like, okay, this is not May's project anymore. This is God's project. I was
yes,
like,
ma'am.
this is not my project. I'm like, I could not have, you know, it could not have blown up this fast, and it's just, and then the other thing is, it's people from all over the world. Like, not even just like our Midwest, we're both in the Midwest, like not even just Chicago, Indiana, but I mean, in various states, in different countries, the UK, Australia, Africa. I mean, and I haven't even gone through that list again, but it's just been so amazing. And what that showed me is that this is a topic that people support and that
Mhm.
think is important. So then that's when I told my supporters that I would reach out to politicians after I got to 500. So Monday, I reached out to the politicians and I told them I had 1,000. Yes, Melinda, I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. I just called them. They're like, okay, how can we help you? I said, I have no idea, except I want to tell you my story.
Awesome.
Right. I said, I have no idea, except I want to tell you my story. So I was telling, so I called the congressman, Bobby Rush in Illinois. I called Senator Duckworth's office, the DC and Chicago office. I called all of them and left messages. And then when I called Senator Duckworth's office, they told me that she actually has a bill out. That is exactly what I'm trying to do. So I'm like, and then I told my supporters, good news, guys. We're not starting from scratch. Because that's what we would have to do, right? If
Right,
you think that something is important and you want to change laws, you have to have enough supporters for it to become a bill, right?
right.
Take it to DC. So right now, as we're talking, um, the bill is in DC right now in committees. So I wanted to just shout out, I guess, the bills really quick. So the first one is the Senate bill, which is S.2390, and it's called Support Through Loss Act. So S.2390, and then they have a companion bill. So this is the bill that actually goes hand in hand, and they're both called Support Through Loss. So the
Okay.
first through the Senate is Senator Duckworth, and this one is from Representative Presley from Massachusetts. So the bill came out on the same day last year, July 20th. And so this bill is called H period R period 4576. So HR 4576. And they're both called the Support Through Loss Act. And so basically, just the highlight of the bill is that they're asking employers to give parents, so it's actually the mother and the father, or the mother and the partner,
Mhm.
time off and at least 3 days of paid bereavement days, grieving days, whether it's the loss of a pregnancy, whether it's the loss of what is it, surrogacy, adoption, anything having
Right,
to do with that you thought you were going to have a baby, IUF, and
right.
then it not happen. And they were saying at least 3 days, if not more. And then also it supports research on mental health of pregnancy loss.
Wow.
So I was like, "Thank you, God."
I got goosebumps.
Yes,
I got
yes.
goosebumps.
I was
Wow.
like, "God, like, this is not the club I wanted to be in."
No,
I
no,
was like, "I
no, I
don't wish
get you.
this on anyone."
Right.
And then now that it happened to me, I was like, this thing happened to me where they didn't acknowledge my loss. And I'm like, I don't want this to ever happen to anybody else. And it really hurts the healing and grieving process when your loss isn't acknowledged. I really think like it's like what is it? It's like it's a disenfranchised loss where it's not acknowledged. It's not even, people actually just want to silence us.
And
Like,
no one understands unless they've been through it. I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, and you're right, grieving. Yes, I mean, I ugly cried for a very long time. Yes. Yeah, and that's hard, your ectopic pregnancies, your miscarriages, and so on and so on, even abortions.
yeah,
Because I had abortions myself and I cried afterwards. I really did. So, I mean, having that grieving, and
yeah,
there's so many women I'm sure that are trapped into not even sharing that with anybody
right.
because they're like, oh, people are probably just going to think it's insignificant. It was just
Yeah,
a small, small loss. It was early in the pregnancy because I know I've heard that before.
yeah,
So many women probably just don't say anything or to their employers. So
yeah,
this is really a beautiful thing out of all that heartache, really. This is a beautiful thing. And now let me ask you a question. You
yeah.
keep saying her. Did you have it in your heart that this was going to be a girl?
Okay, so now I'm gonna tell you my story, the
I'm sorry.
second
I don't
part.
mean to
No,
make you
no, no, no.
segue.
Now that I put the plug out there to please
Yes.
contact your congressperson and your senator. Melinda's gonna put those bills on there. Please contact them tomorrow and let them know you support this bill, because it's super important. If it just sits there, it'll just sit there for
Right.
years and years. If we don't care about it, they don't care about it.
Right.
So I'm just asking everyone to please care about it. And so Melinda asked, I'm gonna answer now. She's like, "Oh, you keep calling the baby a her." Okay, so 2 weeks, about 2 to 3 weeks. Before I took the pregnancy test, in my dreams, I was dreaming, like literally I was asleep. And there was this man that delivered this little girl to me. She was about, I know, like I'm getting goosebumps just
You're gonna make
thinking
me cry
about
again.
it. Yes. Like there was this man that delivered this little girl to me. And we didn't say a word to each other, but we knew he was bringing her to me. And he dropped her off to me. And she was about 2 or 3 years old. And she just had this sweetest little smile on her face. And she looks up to me and she says, Jesus is Lord. And I'm like, yes, he is Lord. And I'm like, but where's your dad? And then I woke up. And no, I literally was like, yes, he is Lord. Where's your dad? And then I woke up. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I dreamt about this little girl. And so I was like, that's my little angel. Like I saw her in my dreams. And so and then like, just, we talked about like kind of like the matter of fact part. So now I want to share a little bit about how like really my relationship with God has like really helped me, during this journey that I'm in. And it's going to be obviously a lifelong journey. And I remember that dream, one. And then two, I remember like I heard God say to me, the enemy is going to be attacking your child.
Mm,
Like, just like how you and I are
mm,
talking, like, I just heard that. Like, the enemy, like, the devil is going to be attacking your child. So I called like a prayer meeting together with my mom, my sister, my aunt, and we're like, no, we're going to pray. The baby's going to live. And we're rebuking every demon in hell and everything, like, seriously, we're like
right.
really like praying, interceding and everything. And in there, nowhere in my mind would I think it would be to the point of death, nowhere. I could not even think it or even imagine it. And, then it was. And then all of a sudden, I had a vision and I was awake and I had this vision that I was in battle. Like we were like in warfare, like spiritual warfare. And, I'm in battle and my daughter is there. Angel, that's what we named her.
Oh,
Angel was there, but she's not a baby. She's like grown, like us. Like this is all in the spirit, okay? Not like the physical, like all in the spirit realm. She's grown, I'm grown, but I know that's my child. And then all of a sudden, I see her being slain. Like she gets killed
oh,
right in front of me. I had to see this.
wow.
In my vision, I see her get killed right in front of me. And I'm running with all my might to her. I drop to the floor and I'm just like inconsolable. Like
Mm,
that's the first word I would say about like when this happened. I was just inconsolable. Like there is nothing you could have said to me. Like nothing you could have said, nothing you could have done. Like the inconsolable grieving mother, like nothing. And I'm just like crying, crying, and then even at that moment of like such great grief and sadness, I said, devil, when I can pick myself up again from the floor, I said, I'm coming for you. And I'm killing all of your demons in the way. And I said, once I can pick myself up, because, you know, I couldn't. Like I
right.
just couldn't, but I knew once I picked myself up, I said, I'm gonna kill all your demons along the way. I'm coming for you. For like this is gonna be the most precious life you ever took. And so I just, just part of my journey, I've just been sharing truth with people, and I feel like God's just been speaking to me. I'm actually writing another book.
Oh,
Share this
awesome.
about my journey and about these visions that God has given me, these dreams that really help me to find some peace, help me to find a little bit of peace and comfort during this time. And then another time, I was at home. It was that Monday right after the baby and the whole situation. And I felt this warm hug. And it was just like, I guess I would explain it like after you take the blanket out of the dryer,
Oh.
you put
Oh,
it around. Yes, yes, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
After you take that blanket out of the dryer and it's just wrapped around you, and I felt that all over me, that it was like God had like wrapped himself, his wings around me. And it was just so like a warm blanket. It was just so comforting. And then another vision that I had, I was just driving and my mom had several losses as well. And this vision came to me and I saw her. I saw my daughter in the vision and she's in heaven and she's holding hands with her aunt,
Oh,
her big aunt, who was also a baby. And her aunt was like a little bit bigger than her, and she was like, and they were just like laughing and smiling and just having like the time of their life. And I'm just like, oh, she's with her aunt. Like I can't be here to take care of her, but
right,
her
but she
aunt
has
is up
somebody.
there. Yes.
Oh,
And Melinda, it just like warmed my heart. It just warmed my heart. And then this last thing, I know it's just so amazing.
I'm
I'm like,
just
oh, I'm so
laughing.
happy that like it's like touching you because when it came to me, like I had to cry, too. And then this last vision that I saw, and like I really believe like all of our children are like up there together. But
Yes.
I saw there were so many people around, but I saw her. And her aunt holding hands. They were just laughing and smiling and running around. And then the last vision I had, it was actually just 2 Sundays ago. And I was at church and I was at one end of the church. My daughter and my husband was at the other end. And I went to go get my coat. And as I'm coming back, my daughter sees me and she's running frantically to me. I mean, she's just like going like, oh, and it took everything within me not to break down and cry at church because the thought came to me that that's how it's going to be when I get to heaven.
Oh,
That angel is just going to come frantically running to me and I'm going to know her. She's going to know me. And instead of like sadness and tears and sorrow, there's going to be so much joy and happiness. And we're just going to be laughing and embracing each other. And I'm just like, God, you're so amazing. Like, I don't know, like, where I would be if I wouldn't have had those, little nuggets,
mm.
of comfort
Yes, ma'am.
from God. And I'm just like, God.
He is so good. He is so good, girl. He is.
He
Yes.
is.
Yes, and it renews for somebody that I know there was a few times in myself where I was doubting and just like maybe he's not up there and
Yeah.
something would happen, something like that. And even myself with my losses, my
Mhm.
miscarriages, I knew I had a boy and a girl, and I
Oh,
know I had seen them separately in different visions myself. And yeah,
yeah.
so I'm thinking of those things as you're talking because
Yeah.
I know I felt the same thing, and it's like, I know they're waiting for me, and I know they're gonna be up
Yeah.
there. So, yeah, I can totally relate to, like, said whoever's listening to this poor podcast, you're gonna hear me sniffling because all I'm doing is crying.
Oh my
It's so
goodness.
beautiful. That is so beautiful. So, what if somebody out there is wondering, you know what, this is happening to me. Why did God take my child away? It renewed your spirit and your faith. What can you say to somebody that's out there right now that is going through this loss that doesn't have that faith or maybe is letting that faith go?
Yeah, yeah, that's really good. That's a really good one. I think just where I'm at with my faith now and kind of, you know, the teaching that I've been under, we really believe in John 10:10, where it says the thief comes only but to kill, steal, and destroy. So in my heart, when my baby had went to heaven, like I knew God wouldn't have done this to me. Like he loves us, like he is our father. Like he could not be the father of all fathers if he could, kill his children or, like my child. I was like, no. So even from the beginning, because God had told me already, like the enemy was going to be attacking my child. So that I would definitely, take a step back and really come to, I call it truth to life.
Mhm.
Like that is a biblical truth, John 10:10. And bringing it to life to say, like, really, let's direct our anger and our hatred and our resentment, towards the devil who did it. So that's what I would, recommend, because according to John 10:10, it says the thief comes but to steal, kill, and destroy. But I, Jesus, has come to give
Yes.
life and life more abundantly. And even when Jesus was on earth, when people asked him, Lord, if you're willing, he never turned anyone away.
No.
He healed everyone that came and asked, and even those that didn't ask. So I'm like, no, if Jesus, is God and Jesus here on earth, like, I'm like, no, Jesus wouldn't do this. Like, Jesus, never killed anyone. He never plucked any flowers out of the garden. He was like, no. And in Genesis, in Genesis, God gave us dominion. So God is like, I have given you dominion. So our authority here is on earth. We're the ones that are quote unquote like little gods on earth, right? Because we do what God did. God spoke the world into existence. And
Yes.
that's why the Bible says death and life is in the power of the tongue. We speak our life. If whatever situation you don't like, we speak that, speak those things. I'm the head and not the tail,
Yes,
above and not
ma'am.
beneath,
Mhm.
the lender and not the borrower. So I definitely believe in like speaking truth, to your own life. And I used to think that, God had plucked maybe, people from the garden. I used to think that God, was the taker of life and different things. But then when you look at Job, you go back and look at Job, and Job, and the devil says, I'm coming to inform like a roaring lion, whatever on earth. And then he asked, then God's like, oh, have you considered, Job? So I really definitely call this my Job season, my Job
Mhm.
season. And like the devil's like, oh, okay, and he's like, can I do these things? Like, I want to do these things. I want to hurt him. I want to kill him. I want to inflict these things on his body, whatever. God never said, yeah, I'm going to do that. He said, okay, go on your way. Like, do what you got to do,
Right.
kind of thing. And then Job, he says in his pain, not knowing the backstory of what's happening, he says, the Lord, what he says, the Lord giveth and taketh away, right?
Yep.
And I think people think like that's biblical and that Jesus or God said that. I was like, no, that
No.
was Job in his pain. He
Yes.
said that, but because he didn't know what was going on, so I would say that God loves you. I think that's what I want to share with everyone. Just the love of Christ, that it doesn't matter what you've done. And there was this one thing, another vision that I got some months ago. This is way before the baby or anything, but it was really about self-love for myself.
Mhm.
Like Melinda had, you had said, like with my trauma with sexual assault and everything, it was really hard for me to really love myself. And so I was at church and I heard a song, I don't remember, but the thought came to me. Um, and God was saying, it doesn't matter if you don't do anything else. I'm never going to love you any more or any less than how I love you right now.
Oh, girl. Oh,
Yes. God said, even if you don't do anything else, even if you do a million more things, He said, I will never love you any more or any less than I already love you. And this is for the people who do too much, like me, who want to overdo it. Let me get my good works in, people. Okay. Let me get my good works in, people. Yeah, that's me. And when I heard God say that, it was so comforting to me that there's nothing that I could do that would separate me from his love.
Yes.
And I just want to let you know, everyone out there that's listening, God loves you. God wants to comfort you and heal you in your journey during this time. That I believe every single tear that we shed, God counts them. I saw something on Facebook. I think back in the day, like the Jewish women used to have tear jars, to collect their tears. And I saw it was so beautiful. Like, yeah, they used to. Yeah, I just saw it on Facebook the other day. Like they have tear jars. Like it's like a jar that they would like, collect their tears in.
Wow.
And I guess go show Jesus or something. I don't know. But and I believe it's like that. Like God counts like and knows all of our tears. Like I believe that every single tear that we shed, like God knows, and I really believe like when we're hurting, like he's hurting with
Mhm.
us. Like even
Right.
like for us with children, right? When our child or whatever is sad or we feel with them.
Right.
We love them when our child is not doing well, when they're sick, when they're in trouble, whatever. It's like we feel with them, we feel for them, because they're our children. And I believe God is like that he feels with us. He's crying with us
Yes,
because
ma'am.
we're sad, because it's a loss for him too, like he's sad
Right.
about it. But I did want to read, I know we're almost out of time, but I wanted to read this. I guess you would call it a poem. And when I was writing it, I was crying. And what happened was on the 13th of this month, I woke up with this warm, the warm blanket I was talking about, kind
Yeah.
of like that, but it was in my womb.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I woke
Cry all over again. Oh.
That's what I woke up to, and I just cried.
Wow.
I was just crying, and then and then I woke up and I had to write this, and this is called Hugs from an Empty Womb.
Oh.
It says, to my little angel from mommy. Today I woke up with a warm embrace. It was a hug from my womb, my empty womb. I would have just came back from my 3-month ultrasound the day before. Excited to see how you're growing. Excited to hear your heartbeat. Excited to be gaining weight. Excited for it all. Instead, I'm longing to feel your little fluttering kicks, using the bathroom throughout the night, and watching my belly get bigger. These are things that we'll never have now, you and me. I still cry because mommy's missing you, but I have hope that we'll be meeting again, but this time on the other side of heaven. Since you're in eternity, a place now with no time, I know you're waiting for me too, to give me the hugs and kisses that I have longed to give to you. I'll wait my whole life for them, but you're worth the wait. While I'm still here, a place now with time, I'll honor God and you with my time. I'll find the purpose through my pain and help other women do that too. Until we meet again, either in my dreams or in heaven, know that mommy loves you then and still loves you now.
That's beautiful. I'm sorry.
I love you, Melinda.
Oh.
You crying for
Oh,
the
girl. I
was
love
not
you.
thinking I was gonna be like a falling mess,
Oh,
and I feel like this is the pain that we all have, millions of us, and that
yes.
we're just told to be silent. We're just told to keep it to yourself, and it's just so heartbreaking, and I just, both of us, I guess to everyone, like, we know your pain.
Yes.
We've been there. We, whether it's just starting, whether it's been many years, that, we understand. And I think, like Melinda, you had said earlier, like, unless you have felt this, unless you have been through it, you can't even describe it to anyone. You can't even tell it. When a couple of my friends had lost their babies, I imagined the worst pain that it could be. I imagined it, right? 2 years ago, I was looking through my previous messages, and I was like, I can't even imagine. And the worst pain that I imagined, that was a lie. The worst pain that I could have imagined before having to suffer the loss myself was a lie. It's just, you can't describe it, and I think unless you have gone through it, unless this is a loss that you have had to endure, there are no words. And I think we, as mothers of these children who have gone up to heaven, like, we have to really stand together, come together, and whatever is right, like, proclaim it on every mountaintop. Melinda, and that's like my mission right now. Like, I'm like, you know what? I want this bill to get passed at the White House, but then I want it to get passed at every single state
Yes.
in the
Yes,
US.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so it's just this big, super big thing, and it's coming from a place of helping to start people to heal, helping to start that healing journey. You need that time
Yes.
to process, to think, to grieve. And I know, like, I actually took the time, like I said, I was like, okay, bye. I didn't think I was going back. I was like, no, my mental health is more important than my job. Bye.
Amen. Yes.
That's what I said. Bye. See y'all. And then 3 weeks later, they're like, we're not paying you. Okay, I'm coming back. But to Melinda, I felt so much better.
Good.
I felt so much better that I took that time out. And for anyone out there, like, it's going to be such a tough decision to make. But if you can, please take that time out for yourself.
Mhm.
Like, you're going to feel so much better.
Oh,
You're
definitely.
gonna
Definitely.
feel like you took care of yourself. You're gonna feel like that it was a significant loss and that you needed the time, you took the time. And I feel like when we don't, it just, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, because like you said, I was like, bye. I'm gonna take my time. I don't know about other people, but I think that's what helped me, like, get on my journey. And it's going to be a lifelong journey, and there are going to be days, and I say, you know what, it's like a wave. Like,
Mm.
some days are really good, and then some days you're going to be bawling, like, and it's okay, whatever day, you just ride that wave. And yeah, and I think the most important thing is just to trust God. And what I mean when I say that is that all the ugly things in our life, like, the Bible says that He's going to give us beauty for our ashes.
Yes.
And for me, what that means is all the ashes, or all, like, the ugly things in my life, like, God's going to make it into something beautiful. And that's what I mean when I say I trust God that He's going to make this into a beautiful thing. And just me being able to share about my journey, how I got to this place, is God turning around to something beautiful. Advocating for women, empowering them, like, that is something beautiful.
Yes.
And so I
Ah,
just really feel like I took, like, the greatest pain of my life and turned it to this huge purpose, that, because of little Angel, like all the mothers around the world, around the US, like I'm going to push for them to get that time off.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you. And you know what? I'm so sorry that it had to happen. Really and truly. Really. Oh my goodness. Wow. This was, as you can tell, I was really moved by this whole thing. It's something near and dear to my heart.
Thanks, sweetie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And again, May has a book unrelated to this. You can find the link in the comment section. Also, the bill, I have that in there. And mentioning too that she said this bill, people around the world. So even if you're not in Illinois, go ahead and sign the petition. Go ahead and do that. Oh, I didn't ask you for that. I'll have to maybe put that in the link a little
Oh,
bit
yes.
later, the
Yes.
petition link,
Okay.
so people can
Okay.
go ahead and do that too. So please, give her some love. Many, many, many women can benefit this and benefit from this. Was 3 days? 3 days is, I think that would help. That would. That would.
Definitely, definitely. And I just wanted to end with this one thing, that
Sure.
whatever that you feel like you need to do to commemorate, your child's life, whether however short or however long, I would definitely recommend doing it. And I wanted to bring this out and share with you all. Like, this is a little memory box that I
Oh,
bought at the store, and I just wanted to share some of the contents that I have in here. These were flowers from
oh,
that my friends had sent me. We had a little homegoing service for her. So it's
oh.
like a whole little program. Like, we had a balloon release and everything. And I was like, no, this was my baby. Like, this was like, you know, a
Right.
real person, and then just, different things. I have cards here, and then at the homegoing service, I had my friends and family like write little notes,
Oh,
messages and stuff that I can go back to and read. And so, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do it. Like, these are some wings from flowers,
oh,
from the
is it
flowers that
sweet?
she sent. Yes. And then one of my really, really good friends, her mom had gave me this. It's a little like from um Times Remembered, or Things Remembered. And
Oh,
it says in here, it says safely in his arms.
oh, is that beautiful?
Yes, from Mama Lisa. So I was like, oh my gosh, that was so thoughtful. And like, whatever little thing, like, when I thought I was pregnant, when I was pregnant, I had went out and bought these and put it in like a little box for my husband to open. Like, I had like little
Oh,
things in there. And so I put those in there. But yeah, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do, whether have a little service, memorial. We also had a balloon release, for her. And then I had kept one of the balloons here,
oh,
that had popped like in the house. I was like, I'm gonna keep this one. So, like whatever you feel. And Melinda, honestly, I feel like because I did it, what was in my heart to do, I made peace with that. Like, no, we didn't have her body, but I had a service for her.
oh,
And I really believe like it helped me tremendously, to cry, to whatever it is that I needed, to be with family and friends. Like, just like it was a real funeral memorial service,
right.
and honestly, I honestly believe that if I wouldn't have had something like that, I probably wouldn't be in such a place of like comfort, and peace, that I didn't honor her, like I wanted to. And so I just want to encourage anyone out there, whatever it is that you feel you have to do, like do it, you
That's
know.
beautiful. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing. Really and truly, thank you. This was beautiful, and it's a very private time for many people. So thank you, and thank you for coming on today just to share that. really and truly. I know somebody out there that's listening is going to get a lot of comfort out of this. And of course, they can reach out to you on Facebook if they want to chat, maybe share their own experiences as well. And you are going to be maybe making the news circuit locally in Chicago,
Oh,
hopefully. So I'm really excited about that.
yes, yes, that's really exciting. So yeah, they're gonna be filming tomorrow. So
Awesome.
NBC, so you guys look out for me on NBC.
Woohoo!
Chicago. Yeah, they're gonna be talking to me about my story and the petition and also working with the senator and how we can really get this bill passed for, families out there that need
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. And what an encouragement for anybody out there that's looking to make change too. You didn't write a book about it or read a book about what to do, but just getting out there, contacting your senators, your congressmen, people and your congressmen, whoever it need to be. So in change.org, that's amazing. Thank you, girl. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. It was such a great pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be on with you, Melinda. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, and we're going to end the broadcast on that. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. And remember, those links are in the comments. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks for tuning in. Bye. Mwah.